3, 2, 1.
And we're live. Welcome to episode 2 of the Dishy Switch Podcast, a South African ultimate podcast which brings you local news and international developments. This week is our first week where we have a guest. Our guest this week is Peter Jessop, who is a player who's represented South Africa and has been a big leader and player at a team called Skyveld in Johannesburg. So most of the episode will be around Peter and the interview with him. But before we get to that, let's start with, as per usual, the news and developments.
So, I mean, nothing really has changed on the local sphere. South Africa went back to level 3 lockdown from the 28th of December, which means there's 2 weeks of no ultimate. So we just started playing pickup again, and yeah, that's been stopped. So any team that wanted to kind of train early next year isn't going to be able to start yet. I'm pretty sure that starts close to the 14th-ish. I don't actually know when it ends. Somewhere close to that. And then they're going to decide again what South Africa's doing going forward. So I guess by the time that next episode drops, we'll keep you updated for what we know. Just internationally, of course, WFDF is now finally given out a response to what's happening with Worlds. They're going to let everyone know by the 16th of January, am I correct?
That is correct.
Cool, the 16th of January of whether or not the tournament will be happening. I mean, on that, it seems that New Zealand is properly pulled out. They put forward something the other day that WFDF shared. I mean, it kind of makes sense. They're one of the few countries with very few cases, and why risk any of that? So their governing body has just decided, nope, New Zealand's completely out. I believe they put out everything to do it next year, so under 24 WGC as well.
Well, I can definitely see where that comes from, and I can imagine that was a really difficult decision. I'm not sure how much of that was dictated by what the national government of their country decided which is obviously to look after their people, their populace. I'm not that up to speed with what's going on there. I mean, we have spoken about what happened in Australia, which is relatively close by for them. I'm not sure if they're influenced by that kind of thing, but we're definitely in uncharted territory. This kind of thing has definitely not happened in our sport. So you can definitely understand that kind of decision. But as things stand, ceteris paribus, we're not in the same boat as things stand right now.
I mean, something that you let me know about, and maybe you can elaborate more on, because I haven't read much about it yet, is something about college season next year in the US. Can you let us know?
Yeah, so in the mailer, the Ulti-World mailer, which I think went out this morning on South African time, there was mention that with a look to 2021 in the US, as things stand, the spring college season has been cancelled. So spring being a little bit later into 2021, but the autumn season, as things stand in the college division, is still greenlit. With the club season, I beg your pardon, which is only later in the year, but third quarter, if I remember correctly, that's still greenlit as things stand at the moment. And the reason this is important is because we are fans of teams who participate in those divisions, college and club in the US. But also, they're one of the major players in our community, our global community. So you have to imagine that whatever decisions they take will play in the minds of people of influence in other communities in the world, including ours.
And I think our final piece of news is just that WFDF has released a rules update again for 2021 to 2024, I believe. No major rule changes, but I think we'll cover that in a later episode. But just something to look out for if you want to go read up on that. Cool, and now I think it's time to introduce the one, the only, Peter Jessop. All I can say is he's tall, he's lanky, he'll scar most people, and in 2017 Nationals, I actually got this wrong the other day, 2017 Nationals, he was the fastest man to do the 100 meter sprint after the tournament, once just finishing the final. So yeah, let's
That is correct.
let's go over to the interview.
Peter, welcome to the Dishy Switch Podcast. Our very first guest. We're really excited to have you, and thank you for making the time. We appreciate it. We know you're moving about quite a bit at the moment, and we'll catch up on what exactly your movements are quite soon. But before we get into what everyone want to hear about, which is obviously Frisbee and all the accolades you've had over your career and all the world's representation and that kind of thing, I just have this burning question, which I've been meaning to ask you for quite a while, and that is, why do you support Aston Villa? I don't get it. It's like, why?
Well, I mean, right now it's the best time to be supporting us.
That's true, for a while.
Well, first of all, thank you, both of you, for having me. And yeah, so hopefully we can make this a good session. So Aston Villa, the funny thing about that is I never really grew up being a football fan. And then in 2010, you know, the whole sort of football bug bit quite hard with World Cup coming, and I got an Xbox 360 that year, and I got FIFA 2010, and I sort of looked down the list, and I was always didn't enjoy the fact that everyone, you know, goes for the big and the club that's the best at that time. So I was like, okay, cool. The first club, it's like, was it when you start FIFA 10, it says, cool, what is your home club? And I'm like, Arsenal was the first one. I'm like, no, I'm not going to choose that. Next one, Aston Villa. And I'm like, that sounds like a really cool club. Did some research. They were playing some beautiful counter-attack football at that stage. I was like, this is the team I'm gonna support. Started supporting them. I think in 2 years, it was great. And then from there, we should have went in a nosedive, ending up in the championship. But we're back. So, I mean, that's pretty much why I support them. There's no family link or anything like that.
Okay, finally, no, I was really wondering about that because it's a tough club to support. I mean, it's... They've been up and down the divisions for so many years that I was wondering why you... A little on the masochistic side of things. I mean, why are you doing this to yourself? There's many other clubs you could support.
But some great life lessons some great life lessons in learning how to deal with defeat.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, I thought I'd rather learn it there than on the ultimate field.
It's a bit of dissociation, third-person perspective.
Learned it a lot on the ultimate field as well.
Dill, what do you have for us?
So, Pete, just a little bit more about you. So, from what we know, when you were young, you did high jump. Can you tell us a bit about that? Like how you started, when you did it, and kind of how far you got?
So I think my sporting in general career, so like just sporting just happened grade 4. I went from a tiny school where there were like 10 of us in the grade, and then I went to Sweet Valley in Cape Town. That all of a sudden now, like they do proper sport for everything. And I just was like excelled, loved it. I went into everything. Sports day, I was in every single event. I was just at home all of a sudden. Sport was my thing. And in the beginning, I think I wasn't the quickest. I think I came like second, and I was pretty good at long distance. But I won the long jump and the high jump. But from there, I think you sort of go to the local divisional sort of district competitions from there on. And it was high jump was the one that I sort of was a little bit above the rest and got, I think, the Western Province that first, or the Western Province competition. I don't know if I actually made Western Province in grade 4. And then I think my parents were great at just encouraging whenever they saw that I was sort of interested in something or good in something. And I started doing extra lessons in that, and it sort of exploded there until at the end of high school, primary school. So that was when I was grade 7, 13, went to the SA Champs representing Western Province. And that was sort of as high as it went for me. Although I think grade 6, I had a bad injury, so I never actually did anything in grade 6. The whole athletic season was a bit of a bust. But then grade 7 went all the way there, and much to my regret at the time, I came 4th, missed the podium by one jump. Yeah, and it was also sad because it was pretty much I was either going to get the gold or come 4th, because with high jump, if everyone goes out on a height, it's whoever was cleanest in their previous height, sort of whoever got over the first time, because you have 3 tries each height. And I had been clearing everything first time. Then until it got to this one height, only 3 guys got over, and it wasn't me. So I came 4th, and then they didn't get any higher than that. So I missed the podium, and I missed top spot by 1 jump. But
shame, man.
Yeah, I think that was my first real taste of bitter defeat. And yeah, I think in high school, I never got to represent Western Cape Province again. So I never went to the SA Champs. I represented Western Province. So Western Cape is, I think, got Western Province, Boland, and 1 other, or 2 others. So I went to the Western Cape Province Championships, I think twice, so grade 8 and 9. And then, I think in end of grade 10, grade 11, I got terrible shin splints. So I didn't do any sport except I think ended up taking up golf because it was the only thing I could do, because I like running was excruciatingly painful. So all I did was golf. And then in matric, I sort of, when I was back, I was like, you know what, I just want to enjoy some team sport again, and started playing matric rugby just for a bit of a laugh, and that was a lot of fun, so I'm glad I did that.
So just before we started, you showed us a picture. I feel like you should show it to everyone else.
Yeah, so I'm currently staying with my parents in Cape Town. So being very good parents as they are, they've obviously framed every bit of my life, and this is the one at the height, I mean, excuse the pun, the height of my ultimate, my high jump career, where I'd ended up coming 4th at SA Champs. And it's me with my extremely blonde hair. Sorry for the glass or the reflection, but you can see, that's as good as it got. It was all kind of downhill for the ultimate career from there.
That's a great picture. Did your folks take that, or was that one of the sports photographers?
No. That was a sports photographer.
Well, I was just like, that's absolutely perfect. They should come photograph Frisbee if they can get that.
Yes.
So you mentioned obviously how well you did and that kind of thing. And I've heard a rumor that in one of the local boys' school, one of your grade records still stand, actually. I'm not sure how true that is, or maybe you don't know. But evidently you've made quite a big splash in the Cape Town community with that. Was that like the spark of your competitiveness? Because anyone who's played Frisbee with or against you knows you're very competitive on the field. Did it start there, or did it come about later on?
So to be honest, I think I've always been competitive in everything, and my brother will definitely attest, my parents will attest to that anything we did, we'd make it into a competition. So I don't think that was the start, but it definitely was something I latched onto with my competitiveness. And almost, I think, too much so that I think I kind of, in a way, regret going too far with high jump, especially in high school, where I stopped playing rugby and water polo and sort of other team sports in order to just focus on high jump, because I just wanted to obviously try get as good as possible. Just now after Ultimate, I think just looking back, team sport compared to the individual sport, it's chalk and cheese for me. The competitiveness of it, definitely, I did enjoy that. I did enjoy the challenge and the competition. And I definitely remember at the Weinberg Sports Days, whenever it was the high jump competition, all of a sudden you'd end up with the entire, half the sports day coming around to watch as I make my jumps. So that was always a bit of a vibe, and that's probably where most people remember it. Whether or not my record is there or not, to be honest, I don't know. I know that I missed the under 19, so the highest one in matric. I missed that record on the day jumping it there. I think I jumped it. I jumped higher than whatever that record was, but I never made. Obviously, if you want the record to stick at Weinberg, you have to jump it at the Weinberg Sports Day. So I never did that under 19.
Interesting. So what was the record, or what was your highest?
So the highest I ever jumped was 195.
Oh my word, you jumped over me.
Moses. Me too, actually. Jeez. How tall are you again, Peter?
So I'm just over 1.9. So I jumped my height, yeah. But I never managed.
Crazy.
I never managed the 2 meter mark. I tried it a few times, but I could never pip that 2 meter ceiling. Which I think if I did that, that's a struggle for a lot of people.
That's incredible. Phil?
So with that, I mean, you then started playing Ultimate sometime. I know that you started playing through Ambies. Can you tell us what that is? Because like most people don't know.
Yeah, so Ambies is actually a short for ambassadors, and that was the youth group at my local church. So the first time I was introduced to Ultimate was through ambassadors in grade 8. So I joined youth at my church, and there we had a Canadian youth pastor, and he obviously was the one who introduced Ultimate to everyone. And it was pickup at first, and it was a grand mush of a pickup where it was just a whole bunch of children, probably like 15 aside some days, just running up and down barefoot on a field, which was obviously great fun at that stage. But I think it was always missing something for me because I am that competitive sort of knack, and I love order. And that's also why I struggle playing pickup now, because I need that order. Much to a lot of people's dismay when I'm playing pickup. I get grumpy and then gotta be better. Gotta cool down, especially now when the only thing we have is pickup.
Yeah.
Always gotta be like, it's pickup.
No, I'm completely the same. I'm either 0 or 100, so either mess around at pickup and do absolutely nothing, or get frustrated at people for not playing properly.
Yeah, no, but no, I 100% respect pickup for what it is, and I mean it's where I started. So I mean that was kind of a lot of throughout high school. I played in these pickups, which were generally I think on a Sunday afternoon. We'd go and we'd just play pickup. But I think what really started and sucked it in even more was in grade 9, ambassadors created a club team which joined the Cape Town Ultimate League. And I was a part of that. I was very young, and we got clapped week in, week out, playing in the Cape Town League. And I think the team talks at the end of it were always the same, where the opposition would be like, it's so good seeing young people around, you'll get better. I was just like, but I mean, absolutely loved it. And it only really happened in grade 9 where I think we were in the league. And then I've got a feeling that the team sort of fell apart. And then, the next time I only played Ultimate was at the end of my matric year. I came back onto the scene and sort of played around. I think I joined what was, I think, the beginning of the Ghost team for a bit. And then I think I joined the trials for the 2012 Numbers campaign. But that quite clearly, I was at the trials. I don't know how I ended up getting that invite or going there, but I was quite chuffed with myself because I remember Finn or Ryan, I think even both coming up to me and saying, "What are you doing next year?"
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm going on a gap year. So I'm not going to be around, and there's no way I can get to Japan. Whether or not it was actually a legitimate thing or something they were mulling a real lighty coming along for experience. But I know that I already had all my plans for my gap year, so that was to take place. And then my first real competitive scene was on my gap year in the Netherlands, and I joined a club in Utrecht called Utrecht Frisbee Organisatie, UFO, which is a team we ended up playing at Club Worlds and beating, which I was very happy about, because I only played in the third team when I was with them.
Oh wow!
Clapped their first team.
Yeah, nice.
So,
What year did Ambis play in the local league?
Sure. So I matriculated in 2011. That would be fine. So 2008.
Sure, that's
I think,
that's
a long time ago.
The league was before you.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's before UCT
Yeah,
really got going as well.
UCT wasn't around when I played with Ambis. Yeah, it was like Disc Doctors and Zebrew,
Remnants.
Some old, and obviously Chili's always been around.
I thought Doctors became Chili. Maybe I have it wrong.
No, there was Sweet Chili back then, I think.
Yeah, there definitely was a Chili. Yeah, I always remember Ann Pasco.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe if he's always a friendly guy, but I think that maybe he wasn't bald back then. But I don't know. That
he wasn't
always
actually.
Seems to just reveal itself on the ultimate field. But he was always a very welcoming.
Yeah.
Also remember John O'Louise, and obviously Finn. Big part of it. Because I think that was also Finn remembered me.
Okay. I have the Nationals DVD from 07 and 08, and it's quite a trip to watch those again, because people were significantly younger, and like Ant had hair and those kind of things. But also Frisbee was at a very different level back then.
So you touched on kind of going to trials, the Mambas trials, and you obviously didn't make that team, or maybe you would have if you were here. But after that, you went to Leco, you went to WGC, you made the WCC team for UCT again. Can you tell us about some of your like international experiences? I know I played on Under-24 with you, and you played on WGC with me and Cornet.
Yeah. So in terms of the big Worlds tournaments, I did those three, and I think it was all three in a row. I think it went. 2014 was Leco, and then 15 was Under-24, and then 16 was the Guts. So not that we played Guts.
We watched it. It was interesting.
Stand around and watch the American guys.
Some of us got discs.
America! Oh, it was great. But yeah, no, I think, it was just the real start of my confidence was going to Leco with Ghost. So Ghost wanted to bolster their squad, and specifically, I think they were also looking to future players. So they came to UCT and wanted to join. So I think there were 4 or 5 of us, because it was myself, Thuli, Alf, Tim Tam, Neil. So that was 5. Or did I include myself? I don't know. But there was, so that was us, the little UCT remnant of Ghost, and absolutely loved it. Even though we got #Lecode at the tournament, which refers to the weather, maybe a little bit also our games, but it was an amazing experience, and I love trying to prove myself, and this is like the world stage is the place, I think, to really try prove yourself. And all of a sudden we're up against, in our pool, Dragon Thrust, the so-called number 1 seed. And I'm like, the rest of the leadership were all like, now we have to like focus on the other 2 games and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I have my eye sets on these guys. These are the guys that I want to be running up against. These are the guys that I want to be scoring against and getting these. And probably was my best game of the tournament. I remember getting MVP. Absolutely loved it.
Oh, nice.
I just thrive trying to prove myself against on the world stage, and I think that also then carried through into the under 24, and that was a bit of a transition from being the youngster on the team to now all of a sudden being not quite the most senior person. I was still quite young, but being someone who's now been to a Worlds tournament on the squad, so having a bit more experience and having that sort of role on the team, and then also then going back again into the Mambas team at WGC, and every time just coming up onto the world stage and really trying to prove myself. And I just know, like, I think the opening game of WGC, I got injured in the warm-up game, rolled my ankle a bit, and I missed out in playing Team GP, Great Britain, and I was pissed off. I'm like, this is the team I want to play against, and now I have to sit on the sideline nursing a fat ankle. But luckily, I think I sucked it up and just played through for the rest of the tournament.
I don't think you missed much in that game.
Yeah, I agree.
No, it was tough. It was tough being on the sideline as well for those reasons.
I mean,
One of the 2 games I got to play.
Thinking back to that game, I remember throwing to James, and instead of jumping into the end zone, he jumped out of the field to try to score.
Oh yes,
I was so upset.
There was a lot of things in that game that just showed that we weren't quite ready for that level of play in our very first game.
No, we played a couple of the big teams.
Because we made it into the power pool somehow, so then we ended up playing USA, Australia. I don't know if it was like USA who were just taking it easy, but I felt more out of my depth in the Aussie game. Oh, 100%. Flip.
I felt like the Aussies, I don't know if they were just like, cool, this is time to get it back at South Africa, because, you know, there's always the rivalry. They were all over us, and they flew across the field. I don't know if they ever touched the ground. That I very much felt out of my depth.
Thinking again back to that game, I threw to Sammy, who was, probably one of the fastest guys in our team, according to Cornet. He had the fastest 40 meter in our team. And I put it deep to him, and some guy that was probably like 30 centimeters shorter than him just laid out almost over him, got the D. I was like, well, can't really do much when someone does that to you. This game is going to be quite interesting.
I still remember in the US. Sorry, and in the US game, I got a beautiful assist from you.
Oh yeah,
I made sure I came down with that one.
I was so happy with that as well. Put it perfectly for you. And then, one of the players after the game came to me and said that all of our goals were luck, and I was like, my word, that's rude. I won't mention who it was, but I was a little bit upset with him.
Well, definitely, it probably was Bo Kittredge. He didn't even play against us.
It wasn't him.
He was chilling with his overalls and his safari hat, chilling on the sideline.
I can definitely say that one of our goals
thinking
was
about
luck. I don't know if you remember someone put it deep to, I don't know who it was, but there was like a power of 5 or 6 players, and Nick Salumis claimed that he jumped and intentionally macked it to Graham, who then caught it and threw the assist. Which I don't know how true it is, but I'm gonna believe Nick. He did it and it was amazing.
You've always got to believe Nick, or not believe Nick.
He had a good tournament. Not many people had a good tournament. He had a good tournament. you did pull down 2 terrible hucks of mine in the game. Might have been the Czech game because I missed most of the week because of illness. But
Yeah.
I played half of a game late in the week, and one of the captains, Topher, said he wants me to start hucking into the wind because we weren't hucking. And I was really ill still, so I was throwing terrible swill into the wind, both to Peter, and he pulled down both. I was like, this is awesome. It's like, I wish I could have had more of that.
I mean, he did the
during
same.
outreach.
He did the same against Japan in our first match. We step out and we have Nicole, who we call Skinny, and Pete, and they're just like, what? How much taller than everyone would you say, Pete?
So I think that was that first Japanese game still haunts me, the fact that we 100% could have won that game.
We should have won it. we got the turn
because
on
we
the bonus point.
had a game plan, and I'm like, why aren't we sticking with this? Because we just go out with these every time we're on offense. We had monsters of players with Sean, myself, Nicole, and we'd just do this thing where we'd ISO one of us, and then we just go deep, and we took it down every single time. And I'm like, why are we changing this up? Why are we, when it's coming down to the last few points, where we're changing it up? And I suppose that's what we learned. And I think at the second game we just had far more confidence because we hadn't won a game when we came up against Japan.
That was our first game of the tournament as well.
True. Besides, I suppose we'd beaten Germany in the warm-up.
I just want to change speed quickly because we chatted about ambies and when we went towards your Worlds experience, but there's obviously an underlying aspect of that, of your development, Hassan, which is your time at UCT. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like coming into a UCT team, which was a very specific setup? It might have been still the Matt Lewis and John McCoy team, or the sort of after effects of that generation of players, and how it changed as you went along, and what your experience was as a player and as a leader eventually.
So yeah, my time at UCT was absolutely fantastic, and I was quite lucky where we came in. I came in at a time that there really was a nice competitive setup. Yes, they weren't competing for top 4 just yet, but they, or at least they weren't until I think my year was the first year that we competed top 4, and it was great that we had this setup and that they welcomed me into the first team, because that was also a first where there was a bit of apparently a bit of politics behind the scenes when I arrived as to whether or not they were allowing someone who hadn't proven themselves into the first team, which I only found out later on that these things were going on. Because I think I would, I don't know, looking back, I think they were worried that if they'd put me in the second team to prove myself, I may have gone elsewhere. I'd like to say I wouldn't have. I mean, I was at UCT. I was definitely going to play for UCT. But I think the thing that really helped me is the fact that I was in Cape Town and the league started before varsity started, so they didn't have enough people. So the sheer fact they needed numbers for the first team, they were like, cool, you can join. And then obviously they enjoyed having me on the team, so they decided not to drop me. And I sort of carried on through there, and we ended on, I suppose at that Nationals East London, we ended up with Long Donkeys in the pool. This is the first time that I'm really seeing the national ultimate sphere of South Africa. I'd only really known Cape Town, and so I think the only real teams that were intimidating at that stage were the local rivals, which were the Chile and the Ghost, and didn't know Long Donkeys from above. So I wasn't intimidated by them, although I think a lot of my teammates were. But I was there like, look, I'm here to prove myself once again. This is, I think, a game that absolutely thrived, and we ended up beating them twice that tournament, once in the pool stage on Universe Point, and then I think we won by a bit more of a comfortable margin in the third, fourth playoff.
You did us a favor.
Flip, and that's like...
Yeah, it was Chile that knocked us out in the semi-final.
Because we didn't have to play the Donkeys, we played you guys. And back then, we definitely psychologically had a number on you.
Yeah,
we knew
then-
we knew we were in good place.
Yeah, no, that was yeah. I think psychologically we were beaten before that game started. I think we went down like 5-0 against Chile. So yeah, that was a pity, I think, from us. But I mean, we were still a young team. We didn't have the confidence yet, and that obviously built over my 5 years at UC. That built every year, slowly but surely, to a point where we were so confident that even a new player coming in sort of fed off our confidence, and it was easy to bring people in, and that's what the legacy that's still there today. That first team, even though people leave and we're like, oh no, UCT, they've lost all these good players, but then actually they've got that underlying confidence now that players in the second team see that they want to be in the first team, they get in there, and then they feed off it immediately and got the structures. So yeah, I mean, I will also add that that was the last time that I lost to Chile at a nationals. So
Shade.
with UCT, I lost the first nationals of Skyveld. We lost to Chile, but then we beat.
I mean, we were coming for you this year.
Well, yeah. I listened to your first podcast, and I was definitely gonna have a chirp with that one.
Hey, I didn't say we were gonna beat you. I just said we're coming for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, everything at UCT culminated until my 5th year, where we ended up winning Rocktober, and yeah, we had an absolutely fantastic team. But I think some people, especially a lot of those people on that team, would think it's a bit controversial. But I honestly think that the Skyveld team we had the beginning of this year, training now for nationals, was slightly better than that nationals winning team. I honestly, was gutted about everything that we lost this year. But I think the biggest one was the fact that we never got to go to nationals with this Skyveld team, because we were looking good. We were slick. We had pretty much no faults. I mean, obviously blowing my own team's trumpet a bit there, but I was very, very sad about the fact that we never really got to show ourselves on the national stage. And now that team, I'm moving on from the team, so I think it made it even worse, the fact that we knew we wouldn't have a chance again. Well, I mean, they still have a chance, but I mean, I wouldn't have the chance with that incredible side.
I mean, like Cornet and I
We're gonna dive into. Sorry, I just want to quickly add. We'll dive into Skyveld just now. I just want to quickly add something, which is the 2017 nationals that you guys won with UCT. That was probably the strongest Chile team we had in my time there since that 2013-ish era. It was the most athletic team we had for a long time, because you might remember that we beat you in MCI final, and we beat you in the league for the first time in a while, and convincing. It was like 15-6 or something. So we really had great momentum, and then sort of lost it after the MCI success for some reason, and then matched you guys in the semis of the nationals in KwaZulu-Natal, which I sadly missed because I tore my ankle ligaments in the quarter. But by then you could see that this team is winning nationals. It's you guys, everything just was a great confluence of everything just coming together, and also a lot of your players of that era, just your levels being at that expected level. I mean, that layout catch by Peter Ivy, and that is as good as it's going to get in a final. So that was fantastic to watch from the sideline, and watching you going from that 2013 nationals in East London, and then obviously all the Worlds campaigns, but also your influence in UCT and you developing as a player. I've heard from the 2014 Lecco crew that you apparently started off as an O-line player, and then when they switched you to a D-line player, it was a different player. It's like you like that little more of a challenge, it seems.
Yeah, no, I'm always looking for extra game time, to be honest. I don't know, D-line is, I think, an easier way of trying to get a little bit of extra, because you get to play both sides of the game of working out someone's, or working away at someone's offense, and then making that turn and making it count. So I always enjoy that about B, but very honest, like I love playing O as well. I just want to be on the field. I like being an all-star if I have the opportunity to play as much as possible. But yeah,
Sorry, I interjected you earlier.
No. I mean, I think I was gonna jump into a section that we weren't quite there yet, but I mean, now that we are here, we might as well go for the kind of speaking about Skyveld. So, when you joined, they were kind of an inexperienced team. That's kind of where I'd put them. They'd only been playing for about 2 years. You joined, and I feel like in the 3 years that you've been there, the club has kind of like turned around and really put a good foot forward. Would you say that you had like quite an impact in that, in like your leadership and kind of how you play the game? And like, what else did you bring to the team?
So I think it was a bit of a shock coming from UCT. We'd now won nationals. We'd put a lot of structure in place at UCT, and we were playing structured ultimate. We were starting to do actual strength training, and we're putting a lot of emphasis on being not only technically sound, but always going to be the fittest team on the pitch. And then going from that to all of a sudden a lot of talent, and I arrived, and there's a lot of talent, but there just wasn't the structures. There wasn't this sort of understanding that if you want to get better, you've actually got to put structures in place, and not just in terms of this is reset cuts and this is what we're going to do in this situation, or these are nice bailouts, and this is a proper how we want our offense to flow, and those sort of structures. Also structures off the field, so how the club is organized and the leadership structures, which there wasn't anything really formal. There was sort of a comm of just a whole bunch of people, and no one had specific roles, and it was just cool. This needs to be done. Who wants to do it? Cool. Who wants to be on the comm? Yeah, you're going to do it. Cool. So, yeah, I definitely came in a little bit like a wrecking ball in terms of that, bringing in all the structures. Not sure everyone enjoyed that, I must admit, but I do know that a lot of people did appreciate it. They did say that they enjoyed the fact that there's all these structures in place, which I think allows for a more competitive spirit to thrive. And I mean, I was planning on that first year, just going there and being cool. I'm just going to suss out the scene, just be a player again after coaching and captaining at UCT, and being cool. I'm just going to have a little bit of a break. But I think within 2 months, I was pretty much coaching at Skyveld again. So, and then over the 3 years, I definitely won't put it, the change at Skyveld on me. There were a lot of players that came across and joined Skyveld, as well as the existing players there that actually embraced the change and took up the challenge. And as a club, we literally just went from strength to strength till this, at the beginning of 2020, where we had 2 teams at regionals, and our first team literally didn't have a weak spot, and we weren't even playing with our full strength team. We were missing Bling and Sean, two massive players, and we also played without one of our ladies, Andy, for a full day. So we were looking very good, very structured, and a large portion of I think only like 4 players in our roster, 5 players in our final roster weren't on a world squad. So we had the extra training on the side for all the players, and I think that's where I think my mentality, my thought process of we're going to be better than what any team I've been a part of, just because we play well together, we gel together, we enjoy each other's company, we got a good vibe, but everyone is extremely fit. There's sort of no issues here, and yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Skyveld. That first nationals coming in, and for me, obviously always being at the top end of the competition, and now it was a fight and we ended up coming 7th, and it was the first time Skyveld made the top 8. So it was obviously a good result for Skyveld, but for me, it's slightly. I was like, I knew we could just be better. And then last year, 2019 nationals, we went and we ended up coming 4th. Also great. And I think that was the first time that I think a lot of players, especially the ones that have just been playing in Joburg, had that sort of lack of confidence against Cape Town teams. And that was the tournament where we sort of got the monkey off our back and beat Catch in our pool. And then I think we played both. Did we play Chili Heat as well?
We wanted to
we
play.
Just played Legends. Yeah, played Legends. Blew them away, which was always great. We just had a good tournament. Lost it finally in the end against Vikings. I think you guys were already on the line, and we were still finishing our final point against the Donkeys.
Yeah.
That was a tough game. But
I mean, the one thing that really scared me about this year's team that you had is just the heart that you had. Like, you weren't the tallest player on the team,
No.
which is not a fun thing when you play against a team. I mean, you had like 4 or 5 guys that were over 1'9".
We call a couple of us the spaghettis. So it's myself and Justice and Sean, all these big monsters.
I mean, especially playing in Joburg, the place that you guys are used to. It's just, I mean, you're used to going up for a disc that sits there, and us coming from Cape Town against guys that are huge like you. That was
it was going to be our home ground. We were going to have nationals in Joburg, which I mean, our eyes were thoroughly set on the Donkeys. We were like, nah, this is the Donkeys have always been the old enemy for me all the way through UCT and then with Skyveld as well. They were the team to beat always. I think it just ended up. We always were great at playing big tournaments, but it was always the Donkeys that knocked us out. So whether it was in the semi-final or the final, they were the team that ended up beating us, and now it made it so sweet that the Rocktober and the Nationals we won, we beat the Donkeys in both of those. I think Rocktober we beat them in the semi-final, and then Nationals was the big final that we beat them in, and that was in their back garden. So, although I suppose they beat us in our back garden the year before, I won't really brag about that one.
You guys played them in the men's division final as well that year, I think.
And that one hurt as well.
That one did hurt. Even though we were very laissez-faire, because UCT just at that stage hadn't done any sort of training for men's or women's. I don't even know, did UCT send a women's team that year?
No, we didn't.
No. So I think UCT was still very much like we only play mixed vibe. But yeah, a lot of us were like, we just want to play more ultimate, and we put together a team. We were probably a little bit too cocky and didn't do any training where we really should have, and got quite blown away in that final. We did really well the rest of the tournament, and I think we just beat Homebrew in the semi-final.
It wasn't just you beat us properly.
Oh, was it a proper?
That win was just terrible because it
was a bad win.
Dominant win for the entire weekend from one direction, and it was an upwind downwind game all weekend.
And that's just the Donkeys' favor.
Yeah.
So, but I think it overshadowed I forgot about that one because getting a clap from the donkeys in the final was a wake-up call.
Before we start transitioning the conversation towards the end of it, I just want to touch on, you've mentioned that you coached at UCT and you captained there, you were part of leadership structure and you took that across to Skyveld. That transition to a different city and a different way of playing and a different role and that kind of thing, how did that affect your coaching? How did that affect you as an on-field leader and your game? How did that transition impact those three?
So I think a little bit before that, at UCT, there was a lot of highs and lows in sort of my captaincy. Because I mean, I was made captain 1 year, and then the next year I was sort of voted out. Clearly didn't do such a good job, but then I was brought back in the end again. So it was a lot of up and down, which I learned a lot from. And then I was also on the comm for 3 years, so I learned a lot as well in terms of that organizational leadership, which I then all was able to lean on when I came across to start at Skyveld. And I think the first year didn't, like, as much as we changed quite a lot as a Skyveld team, we only really put in a large amount of the real structures in that second year. And I think that was after I'd now settled into Joburg, I'd settled into a working professional now.
Yeah.
And as a working professional, I was also getting more leadership responsibilities in the workplace as well. So I was learning more about that. And I think all of that sort of just helps bring, and then all the leadership skills that I'd had previously just all sort of came together and helped. I think it ended up this year being on the comm at Skyveld was an absolute pleasure. It was just so easy. We finally got a good structure running in terms of a 5-member committee. Everyone knew what they were doing. They were just incredible people, and it was just easier to just get things done when it's just easy to make the decisions. We can back ourselves. We can disagree with each other respectfully, and I think that's so important. There's no sort of tiptoeing around each other. We're easily able to call each other out on anyone's cuck views, as we like to, or at least I like to say, especially my views. So it's always nice when you find that and you're able to create that.
Sure. And in terms of your game, did that change as well with the change in leadership and environment?
I know while at UCT, it definitely impacted my game when I was too involved in leadership or taking too much on myself. And I was also learned when sort of James became the sort of head captain. He himself told me, like, you're a lot better when you're foremost a player, but then if I need advice, I'll come to you. So you're sort of the advisory on the side, and that helped a lot. And I think we worked really well in that sort of position where he was the sort of figurehead, and then I was sort of the supporting act. But then he was like, I want you to lead by playing well. That helped a lot at UCT. And I think the confidence just grew. I was able to sort of be a bit more when I was at Skyveld, and I think there was less pressure at times because we didn't have this monkey of being beaten in the semis or final by the donkeys every flippin' October and nationals, that we were just starting to be like, we have to win and beat the donkeys. It was a bit of the time at UCT. It almost seemed a bit comfortable when I was now finally at and it wasn't just me as well. I think I've said that before. Those around me at Skyveld were great, and it was a great vibe. So it made it easy to to sort of step up and be the coach, because I never captained Skyveld. I was always just the coaching figure, which is also nice when you can sort of separate and be. I don't have to be on field and sort of off field, and I actually prefer that quite a bit.
Dill, you ready to transition?
No, of course. Shall we go into banter questions? Don't worry, people.
Before we start, well, it's part of the same section. So this last section is not necessarily tied to your career and everything we've discussed so far. So it's independent of that. Some of it will be banter. Before we open that Pandora's box, I just want to quickly ask, because I mentioned this in the intro, is something which is uncommon in terms of team sport is that in our team sport you get to share the team experience and all the ups and downs and all the pressures and so on with your life partner, who is the incredible Tina in your case. Can you talk to us a bit about what that's like, how you guys manage it so well? Because looking in from the outside, looks like you guys just nailed it. You just have it perfect. You seem to improve each other. Can you just talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, first and foremost, as much as Ultimate has brought so much joy to my life, Ultimate was the first time that I met my now beautiful wife. So I met her playing at UCT. So we both played together at UCT. I think our relationship was sort of forced upon ourselves when we ended up in the same digs together, but I think that's a different story. But yeah, no, there's definitely been ups and downs and a lot of learning that's taken us to a place where now where we very much enjoy playing together. I wouldn't say there's any major downs. It was more just, I suppose, more from my side, is learning how to communicate well, as that goes for any relationship in any scenario.
Exactly.
Just how to communicate with your partner. And I learned exactly how she wants to be encouraged or when she wants to be left alone. And as soon as I think you know that, and you understand what mood she's in and what she needs, she just needs to vent a bit, or you just, once you learn that, and then it becomes comfortable. And I think I had to also learn. I'm very good at zoning into sort of like blinkers. It's just Ultimate, and learning that that's not necessarily good just for my partner, just like being out of it, but also my teammates not being able to read how they're doing and where they're, especially when I'm in a position. So that also helped a lot, being able to yes, it's important to get in the zone and be good, but also actually taking a step back sometimes and being, how is everyone feeling? What is the mood of the team? And when we play all these big tournaments where there's a lot of time in between games, it's also how you interact in between games and after games that make it, and at all practices. So no, it's been an absolute pleasure playing with Tina throughout our UCT career and at Skyveld, and we played under 24 Worlds together. So, and we've played at both All Africa Champs. So that's actually the other two international tournaments didn't mention. I mean, that one where we went to Kenya, that was a fun tournament. We had a lot of fun there. As a team, and also with Tina. It was great going across to Nairobi and playing in a proper African tournament. It's very different to anything we're used to down in South Africa.
Just one last mention on how you and Tina do things. It's like, I think it's definitely a couples goals kind of thing when it comes to be two competitive players in a competitive team and so on. I've coached many and worked with many players and couples in the sport, and your dynamic's definitely the best of any of them. Whereas the two players are definitely not held back or negatively affected by the fact they're on the same team or the same line, and that's why I'm so curious about how you guys manage that. And communication seems to be a very important part of that.
I think for me, one of the things I often struggle with is explaining myself. So things just happen naturally for me. Like I'm intuitive in a lot of stuff. So self-reflection is important. Difficult, but important. So she's obviously forced quite a lot of self-reflection for me, and that's obviously made me grow a hell of a lot. And I think just the ability to still have fun together also then helps, and also just knowing what's best for each other, not wanting to hold or just enjoying the fact that someone's thriving, letting them run with it. So thanks for the compliments. I know Tina's going to enjoy them.
It'll release the Kraken. Time for other questions.
Okay, so I mean, since we're speaking about Tina, let me put forward a scenario for you. Okay. So Tina's open in the end zone, but it's going to take a really risky break throw to get it to her. Do you attempt the break to throw to Tina? And what are the consequences of each decision you make?
Well, I mean, like I think I literally just went over is I'm so intuitive. When it's on the field, I look at it's difficult. Like I don't really tick over or analyze what's going on. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, that's open. It's a lot of afterwards being like, no, that was a bad throw. Don't do that again. That's not open. If someone's there, or that particular person, like, and it's like you slowly learn like a computer, like what is good, what is not good, and then you upgrade into the new intuitive. So that's difficult to know because I mean it depends who's marking her. It depends who's marking me. If it's you, I'll just definitely throw it.
So
it's not just scuba, right?
It's not just like you see your wife, you throw it to your wife.
No. So I think there's always that with couples. I think people always seem to gravitate to saying, "Oh, couples always only throw to themselves." But I think it's the fact that people notice when couples throw to each other, as opposed to when anyone else throws to anyone else. No one really notices that. So I'd like to think that I'm not going to throw to her just because it's her. I'd throw to her because it's on, and I back her to beat her mark in that scenario, and I back me to be able to break whoever's marking me. Because if I don't, then I'm not going to put it.
I feel like you've answered this before a lot of times.
Well, I think it's you see it a lot, and I see a lot of criticism of other couples with that same thing, and I'm always, unless I came to that conclusion myself because I've seen it so often, I generally like always second guess when people come to that conclusion. And I mean, if it comes off, then why is anyone complaining?
No, exactly. So next one. I mean, being so tall already, but then having the ability to jump how you do. What is it like up there? I mean, is it completely different in the clouds, compared to what us plebs can see and hear,
It's all about perspective. You just get it from these higher heights. No, I think on our under 24, goodness, I think I'm gonna forget his name now. He's half American.
Lucky,
yes. Can't believe I forgot his name. That's very bad. But I loved matching up against him because even though he's half my height, he still has an incredible spring. And I think matching up against anyone in the air who's good at reading the disc and can get high it's always that much sweeter when you're the one that gets to come down with the disc. I love like I love putting myself up against the best people, so that then I can be like, cool, now I've beaten the best, or at least I tried to beat the best when I don't. But I'd rather come short of the best than jump
So
above.
no angelic music, no slow motion when you're up there, like a spotlight starts focusing on you. None of that.
I mean, when it's in the end zone and you score, then you feel on top of the world.
For sure.
That's for anything. But generally, no. Generally, it's more cool. Now, where's the next throw? Who's open?
So
Yeah.
when flying to a tournament, what advice do you have for people that are 6 foot? I mean, our planes do not account for you.
Book the exit seats. Simple. And Tina, she's the perfect one. As soon as we get the SMS saying that the online booking is open, bam, we've got those exit rows.
I mean, you take those until one day you actually have to do something. Do you think you could handle the pressure?
Oh, jeepers, I rise to the pressure situation. Although I really hope that those ones never come.
Yeah, I flew with Harley, the guy who used to play with Chile. Who was 6 foot ten.
Yeah.
And when we went up, it was for October, I think. They bumped him up to business class for free. And he was just texting me from business class. What's it like being a pleb? And then on the way back, they gave us the seat by the door, so he could like stretch his incredibly long legs.
I've never been that tall, sadly. I've never been bumped up to business because I've got long legs. Usually they just drive over my foot with the food down the aisle.
Yeah.
That's usually the only benefit I get.
But you know the food's there then.
Yeah.
Korn, do you have any more questions?
No, I think that's everything from my side.
Yeah, I mean,
And you?
Pete, thanks so much for coming out, and I mean, you didn't really come out, meeting us on Discord. We really appreciate having you on, and I think some of the things that you've said are really insightful, and not things that we've heard before. So I hope people really enjoyed this. Thanks everyone for listening to episode 2, and we hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. With that, we're done with this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell too, so you are notified when we post new videos. Follow us on Instagram. The handle will be on the screen right now. There's a lot of movement on the Instagram account, so make sure you do start following us there. We do some snippets of future episodes, so we can whet your appetite a little bit, and we'll keep you up to speed with other developments in locally and internationally. So, with that, see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Cheers, everyone.